Hey everybody. So over the past couple of weeks, I've built a personal agent that can do sophisticated research, helping me understand topics I want to write about, or helping me find the most interesting content, trends, and topics that I should be paying attention to, or having my teams pay attention to. It has complex writing and content creation capabilities, and it knows how to evaluate its own work in order to approve it. Often it's using those research capabilities to understand what great content looks like. And it's integrated into a whole bunch of my other tools like Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Drive. It's connected to my Slack. It can access my Apple Notes and even my Apple Reminders. It has the ability to take in my request, derive my desired intent, and then it looks at all the available tools that it has and it creates a plan for how to achieve that intent and then executes it. So I'm going to show you how I managed to get here, what I learned from trying to do this in a few different ways, some of them more successful than others. And if you stick around till the end, I'm going to share something with you that'll help you to get started on creating this stuff on your own. So if you don't know me, my name is Jason Sear. I'm the VP of Design for Cisco's security business. I've spent 25 years learning how to make products people love to use. On this channel, I share what's worked for me, and more I'm starting to share my learnings that are occurring at the intersection of design and AI. So if any of that sounds interesting, I do encourage you, please subscribe. I try to post a couple times a month. So why did I want to create an agent? Well, more than anything, I'm really curious about all this. We're in the midst of a massive transformation, and as a product builder at heart, I just see so many incredible opportunities here. At Cisco, we're already committed to using AI, to securing AI, and to ensure that our customers can deploy AI with confidence. We know that our customers are going to go down this agentic road, and we need to be able to stay out in front and deliver amazing experiences to support them on their journey. We've already announced AI Canvas, which is our agentic ops experience, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But now, why should you care? Well, there are a couple of reasons I think that are important. First of all, if you are someone who plays a role in making software for people, you need to learn these things, and I suggest you get your hands on them. You need to develop taste around these new experiences, the way that people use them. You need to use as many of these tools as you can get your hands on. You may also be someone who simply wants to be an early adopter to these agentic capabilities. You're trying to figure out how this stuff works so you can use it in your work or you can support it in your own business. Okay, so let's explore my learnings. For me, it all started in Vercel V0, my intro to vibe prototyping. Vibe coding, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is this idea that you can code complex things by simply using an LLM and a prompt interface. And you can describe in natural language what you want, and the system writes the code to deliver it. Vercel is one of these tools, and it's focused on delivering products and front-end experiences. And we're using it on our team to develop really rich prototypes really quickly in order to express our ideas. And so it was a couple months ago that I got really deep into using Vercel V0, and it really started to show me the deep value in being able to vibe code and build these prototypes. So based on my experience with V0, it really got me thinking about like what would it be like to actually build an agent or an agentic workflow. And so I started doing research on YouTube, and I discovered a great channel, Greg Eisenberg, who's posting a lot of stuff about AI and vibe coding and tooling these days. And he had a guy on his channel, James Dickerson, who is known as the boring marketer. And James had developed an agentic workflow using N8N, and he was talking through how he did that. And he was kind enough to offer to share the JSON file from his N8N deployment of this workflow so that people could take it and use it as a starting point to build their own agentic workflows based on, sort of the one that he had created. And so I took him up on that offer. I got in touch. I got a hold of the JSON file, recognizing that I have no idea what to do with a JSON file or even what N8N was at the time. But I went to my ChatGPT assistant and I started asking questions about, what to do with this and how to move forward. And really quickly, I was able to get into N8N, which is a tool. It's called a no-code or low-code tool, and it allows you to stitch together all of these different nodes in order to get a workflow accomplished. And these nodes can be connected by API to various different tools. or also to different LLM models. So let me talk you through exactly what this workflow does. So it takes an input, which is essentially a search term. So I would put in something like AI and design. And it takes that and it splits into two work streams. In the top work stream, it is going out and finding high-performing YouTube videos related to that topic. And in the bottom stream, it's doing the same, but it's doing it on Twitter or X. The YouTube videos, it comes back with a list of about 30 videos, and then it loops through that list of videos, pulling the transcripts from each of those videos and putting all of that text into a file. It does the same with all of the tweets or X posts that it finds, and it puts all of that data into a file together. Then it passes that big chunk of data over to a content idea generator. And this is connected to ChatGPT, OpenAI model by API. And it looks at all of that information and evaluates it for opportunities to write about new content that hasn't been covered yet, new opportunities. And it creates a list of new, essentially LinkedIn post ideas. And once it has that list, it passes it over to a research agent who goes out and does deep research on all of those different topics to figure out which have the best supporting information, what can it find in terms of stats and figures that support the thinking in those new ideas. And based on that, it sends all of that information over to another AI agent. In this case, it's using Claude because Claude is particularly good at writing. It sends all of that information to a Claude model and it asks it to write a new LinkedIn post. Once that post is written, it passes it over and it is connected to your Google Docs. So it creates a new Google Doc with that post. It sends you a link in Slack to that Google Doc where you can go in and click on it. You can review the information. You can make changes to it as you see fit. And then you can click a button in your Slack channel in order to post that directly to your LinkedIn. And now the point of this is like, I don't need an automated LinkedIn post workflow. I use ChatGPT all the time to help me write content that I'm sharing online, but I certainly don't need to completely automate that. But the point wasn't to create an engine for my LinkedIn content. This is more of a marketing sort of workflow. The point was I really wanted to learn how all of this works. And what I learned was that you can get this up and running fairly quickly, especially when you're working with an existing workflow like this. If I had to figure this out and build it all from scratch, it would have taken a lot longer for sure. I think for the novices out there, the biggest thing to wrap your head around is for these individual nodes, you have to go in and connect them to your versions of these tools. So you need to have, an API account for OpenAI or for Claude that you can connect. You can create an API token, which is sort of your programming login to that interface, and you can insert that token into these nodes. You need to go into the Google developer portal and create API tokens for giving access to your Google Suite. You need to go and set up some additional tools like the scraping tools that it uses to pull down this information, a tool called Appify. So you need to go and create an account with Appify and create an API token. So that's kind of the hardest part of getting this figured out. But once you wrap your head around that concept of these tools have APIs, you create these API tokens and that gives you access to them programmatically, then it starts to make a ton of sense. And I was super proud of this workflow and I was telling a bunch of people at work about it. And then I got to thinking, man, my understanding of an agent is it's more than just an end-to-end workflow. Like this is a very static end-to-end workflow. You put something in one end, you get something out the other end. And sure, it's using AI along the way to do a bunch of these jobs. But I really think that a true agent is more than this. And I think that a true agent is going to take some instructions or direction. It is going to have access to a bunch of different tools that it can use in different ways. And it's going to choose how to use those tools in order to deploy or in order to achieve the thing that you're asking it to do. And this is where I started thinking that I wanted to recreate this using a true agentic system and using what's called MCP servers. So MCP servers are model context protocol servers, and think of them essentially as a way that that AI tools, AI models and agents can get access to various different tools using a consistent sort of language. So an MCP server would have a bunch of tools available behind it. Those tools may all be using different APIs to different systems, but the MCP server essentially exposes what tools it has to the AI agent, explains what those tools are used for, and then the agent knows that it has access to those things and it can use them for accomplishing various tasks. So I wanted to build a more complex system like this. And so I thought I was going to try to move away from N8N and build something, a little bit more autonomous. So the first thing I did was, I went to Claude and I told it, I said, look, I've got this N8N system that does these things. I don't think that this is a true autonomous agent system, and I want to build one using MCP. Would it be possible to do that? And it said, yes, of course. And it explains, how I can go and do that. And it suggests, using V0 as one of the tools to be able to do this. And so that's what I did, was I started using Vercel V0. That allowed me to start building out the front end. ChatGPT was starting to tell me how to build out the MCP servers on the back end. And that started to require a little bit more heavy lifting. So, ChatGPT would be telling me about the files that I needed to create, and it would ask me to create them. And I would go and start doing that in my own file system. I needed to start installing things like a node server to be able to run JavaScript and different things. And so at first it was a little intimidating, but anytime that I felt like I didn't know at all what I was doing, I would just ask, my AI assistant to explain it to me and walk me through it. And it made it actually really easy to figure out. I did have to get familiar with using more of a command line interface for my operating system in order to run some of these tools. But that was, pretty quick and easy to figure out, again, with the help of Claude and OpenAI. But what started to happen was it started to get a little bit frustrating because I was updating all of my front end system, and, the front end to this thing, I had sort of built a very rudimentary AI agent front end that had a chat window, and it had all sorts of debugging information on it to help me figure out what was working and what wasn't working. So I was using Vercel to update that. And then I was using Claude and copying and pasting files to update the back end. And it was very tedious. And I got to a point where I just simply asked Claude, I was like, this is really tedious. Is there a better way where I don't have to do all this copying and pasting? And it said, yeah, you can use a tool called Cursor. And so I went and installed Cursor and pointed it to my, project files. And this was a big turning point. So this completely changed everything for me, because now I'm actually in a development environment. There's an IDE, an integrated development environment. And I'm able to still use an AI assistant. So it actually has Claude built into this IDE, so you can interact with your AI assistant just like I was, but now it can actually go and change all of these files and write code, and it can debug things, and it can automatically see error messages, and it makes it really efficient to figure things out. And so once I moved in this direction, I started making some really good progress, but it was still a little clunky that I had my own front end, because I was trying to get the UI to do things that I was familiar with in some of these assistants, like the type of feedback that I would get and the way that it would show me responses. And I was just spending a lot of time trying to vibe code that element of it. And so then again, I went in and asked Claude if there was a better way to do this. And it told me that I can actually connect MCP servers to the Claude desktop application. And that ties all this together. That was the other big sort of piece of the puzzle that I realized, is that I can go into Claude, and if you go into the desktop app and into settings under developer, you can actually start connecting MCP servers with a real simple config file to allow you to do that. That was the other big piece of the puzzle that unlocked for me. So I went back into my Cursor and I said, okay, I want to completely re-architect this system so that rather than having my own front end and my own UI, I'm going to use Claude as my UI. And it went and very quickly re-architected this system so that all of these MCP servers are now connected into Claude. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If I go over to Claude here, now if I go under my tools section, you can see that I have a whole bunch of custom tools that have been exposed from my agentic system. So I've got a whole bunch of things related to creating content. It can create Google Docs and Google Sheets, and it can access, YouTube and Medium and do all of these different things. But most importantly, it's got this distill intent tool that is able to take a request that I type into, the Claude prompt, and it's able to figure out what's the basic intent of what I'm trying to get it to do. Then it's able to go and look at all these tools that it has available, and it figures out how it can execute on that intent based on the tools. And then it has an orchestrator, which actually executes on that plan and runs through, all the different tools. So let's see what else I've got. I ended up building a RAG service so that I can get access to my Apple Notes. I have other macOS integrations, so it's able to connect to my reminders and create reminders for me, and it's able to search my notes. It is connected to Perplexity, which is a very sophisticated sort of AI search engine for doing deep research on the internet. So all of these different tools are now available to Claude. And so let's take a look at what this looks like for real. So here's my prompt. Help me find the most interesting new articles, podcasts, and YouTubes, blogs, etc. that relate to the intersection of AI and design. Store them in my content spreadsheet, which is a Google Sheet, and also create a brief summary write-up on why you thought they were interesting. Provide that to me with links to all of the things and save that into a Google Doc. Then create a reminder for me to review that Google Doc and add it to my content list in reminders. Include the link to the Google Doc. So this is a whole bunch of things that I'm asking it to go and do. And so what you're going to see is it's going to take in that request, it's going to figure it out, and it's going to start using the tools that it has available to go off and execute on some of that. So it is going off and searching for the search term. It's going to go off and do another search to sort of make sure that it's getting a full list of the opportunities. It's doing yet another search. So it's able to reason through executing on this task. And as it's completing these steps, it's actually evaluating itself and understanding, hey, did I complete that step properly, or do I need to keep working on that step? So that's why you see it do like multiple different web searches. And then it is adding all of these podcast videos that it found to my content tracker, which is a big spreadsheet of content that I'm, keeping track of and finding. Here's what we ended up with. So we have a summary document that was created. It created a reminder for me in my reminders app. It created this reminders for me over in my reminders app. And it created a Google Doc that I can go and look at that has all of the content it found and some explanation on why it found it interesting, and links to all of those topics. So you can certainly see, how powerful and valuable tools like this can be. Okay. So at risk of this video being way too long, I get super excited about this stuff and could go into great detail. So I'm going to try and stop here and focus on, okay, what are my takeaways here? What do we take away from this? Okay, so first of all, if I can do this, so can you, because I wrote code early in my career, but I was able to do all of this without writing a single line of code, and that blew me away at how intuitive all of this was. If you're not familiar with these things, if you don't know how to do these things, just tell your AI assistant that you're not familiar, or that you need help, or that you need it to do it for you. Especially in Cursor, it can do a lot of this for you. It can create files, it can run debugging scripts, it can do all sorts of really incredible things. Just, tell it what to do, and just follow along with it. And based on that, the other thing I've taken away is this vibing, as people are calling it, vibe coding, vibe designing, whatever it is that you're doing, this vibing is so intuitive, or at least I think it is. And I think it's because as a leader, it feels very much like communicating with people or a team or colleagues. You are asking it to accomplish something for you. The quality of what you get is based on how clear you are with your instructions and defining the outcomes and what success looks like. If you don't like it, you're providing feedback and providing guidance. You're not telling it exactly what to do. Like, this is the wonderful thing. It's a lot like leading a team of people where you don't understand that discipline. You don't have the detail to tell it exactly what to do. And I think in this case, that's a really good thing. You just need to be really clear on the outcome that you're trying to achieve and what success looks like and what you're looking for. And if you're doing those things, these systems are behaving incredibly well. The other thing that I'm realizing is I think as more and more people get a taste for what it's going to be like to use these tools in this more intuitive way, and as these tools become more and more connected and powerful, people are really going to be demanding this as a key experience in the products that they're using. So as product people, we need to be ready. We need to be ready to deliver these AI native sort of vibe-like experiences in the products that we deliver. At Cisco, we're doing that. We've recently launched AI Canvas, which is, our agentic ops capability for managing your networking and security products. I'll put a link in the description. You can go and watch the launch video for that. We're super proud of that work, and this is the first step in this direction for us. But I think that the other thing that we need to realize is that we need to be ready to deliver really amazing experiences if we go down this road, or you simply run the risk of becoming an MCP server that's going to get plugged in behind somebody else's UI. And what makes me realize that is the moment when I realize, man, why am I building my own complicated UI to do a bunch of things that ChatGPT or Claude already does? I can expose all of these capabilities and bring them up behind Claude and let it do all of these things in a much more effective way. I think for AI Canvas and what we're delivering at Cisco, we are leaning in to deliver a world-class experience for network admins and security admins. And I believe that is going to become more and more critical. And so as product people, as designers, this is an opportunity. This is a great opportunity for us to actually lead the way. Because experience really will matter in a lot of these cases. So wrapping up, I've mentioned a ton of resources in this video, and I want to make sure that everybody has access to them. So I'm going to put as much stuff in the description as I can. Be sure to check them out. And also, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I'd share something with you. So I actually went into Cursor and said, hey, can you give me a prompt that describes this system that would allow someone to take that prompt and put it into their own cursor in order to recreate this? And so it's given me a prompt, and I'm happy to share that prompt with people and see if it's a great way for you to get started. I believe it will be. And I've simplified it a lot, so it doesn't have all of the complex tooling and integrations that I've added in, because I think that part of the magic of doing this is learning it, right? So I've made it so that it has just a single integration into Google apps, so that you can have Google Docs and Google Sheets as a place to start with. And then from there, you just need to continue to communicate with Cursor and tell it what you want to add, and it will build additional capabilities into the system. You will need to go and get integrated with other tooling and get API keys and plug them in. But Cursor will make that really easy for you. So I'm happy to share that. What I ask is that you just leave a comment for me. Let me know that you're interested in that, and then I can reach out and share that with you. Have fun. Let me know how it's going as you experiment with these things. Share some of the learning back. I really think that we all need to be sharing with each other and learning with each other as we progress down this road. As I said in the beginning, this is the type of content that I'm really interested in producing. It's based on things that I'm doing myself anyways. If you're interested in this, subscribe. You'll see more of it. And for those of you who made it all the way through this long video, I appreciate it. I had a lot to share and I'm excited about it. And I hope to see you at the next one. Thanks a lot.